I've been drawing since I can remember. I've always just felt connected with art. It just always fascinated me. Just being a kid, I just always just had a piece of paper and a pencil, and I would just draw all day. I would watch cartoons and I would copy things. Like just illustration just always attracted me, just colors and animation, and it was always a part of my life. I remember watching Looney Tunes a lot, and that was just like I think that was my start of everything. Like Bugs Bunny, just I don't know, like the exaggerations of like animation and stuff. I was just drawn to it, and I would just try to draw it out and stuff. And I would see like little magazines that would have them on there, and I would try to copy it and stuff. I also grew like watching anime, and so that was a huge part of it, and just the storylines. I don't know. I was just really drawn into all of that. When they would see me drawing, they would always love it because I don't know. They felt like I had something. Like they always felt like I was talented in that, and they would always encourage me to keep doing it, which was super cool. Like having supportive parents like that. They would always like put thoughts in my head of like, you could be like an animator someday, like keep drawing. Like they would feed me like how to draw this like type of books, and like make me really learn, because I was really into that, and I would ask them for that stuff. So they would always feed me those things, and like buying me like a box of crayons, and like it was just always art related because they knew I would get excited about it. So they just always encouraged it, and which was super cool. It meant a lot because it really just stuck with me, like my whole life. That made me feel like that was like my lane, like my relatives would always be like, wow, you're such an artist. Like the word artist just always kept popping up as I would just draw, and like, I would just be chilling watching TV, and it's like visitors would come by and they just see me drawing, like, oh, you're an artist, like you're drawing. And it's like, my parents always loved hearing that too. And growing up, my mom would take me to like art museums when we moved out here in America. And just try to encourage that out of me, and it's cool. It really stuck with me throughout, and that's the reason why I felt like I had to be in that industry. I would say it really hit early on. I mean, I've always like thought of like the regular job, like what I would be when like people always ask like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my first thought is always an artist. But when I was a kid, it was also instilling me like, art doesn't make you money. It's not a real job. So I never thought of that as really like, I would always gravitate to something else. Like I wanted to be a pilot or something. I was really into planes but it's just always like art. Deep down, I knew that art was like my thing. I had to find something under that, whether it be in a corporation like Disney or Nickelodeon, the stuff I would see on TV, like Cartoon Network or something. Like maybe that's my lane to get into the art world, or maybe I should be doing that. But it's just, I've had it since I was a little kid. Even though I kind of lost touch of it, like during my high school years and stuff, I got into other things than drawing. But I knew that I felt like after high school, I wanted to go to art school, and like, it was just always that, it was always in me, In the Philippines, like life was totally different, like we really didn't have much. It was just, you had your family, and like, you just try to get by in life, but we've always dreamt of coming to America, right? So it was always kind of a dream. So it was really exciting to finally, like, my mom taking us and bringing us over, and like, we're gonna go to the States, but we're gonna stay in Guam first, because that's where she got settled for a bit. So she brought us over, and like Guam was totally new. It was still like, it felt like America still, just because it wasn't the Philippines, but it was like a cool little transition, like still in the island, but like you're getting a little bit of the culture of like America, right? And then like really just hitting it hard when we left to go to New York. It was like, wow, like this really is America. Like seeing the Statue of Liberty was like, we made it. Like the whole immigrant thing, like, well, like that's the Statue of Liberty. Like this is the American dream, right? Like, I think it was third at that now. Yeah, it was third grade. It was a real still culture shock, like I've never been around, because in New York, there's so many diverse people, like different cultures. So that was my first time ever being in a place where like you have all types of people, like, you have Puerto Ricans, like Indian people, and like Filipinos, and just random like Chinese people, like just all at one place. And it was like, in Guam you don't really get that because just it's mostly people who live there. That's just they're Chamorros, and that's all you're gonna mostly see. But New York was so diverse, so it was a real culture shock just trying to learn a lot of different how to interact with people like that. And it's just, I felt like it was great because I got to see diversity, which was super cool. Like I felt like that really instilled what America was to me. I thought like America is a culture pot. Like we all come here from different places, and we're here kind of like just chasing that American dream. Like that's how I've always thought of it, because coming out from the Philippines, like that was the dream, to come here and to have opportunities, right? Even as a young kid, I've already kind of realized that and thought about those things. So yeah, it was just super exciting to me because New York was like, that's a city that I see on movies, Like it was like, I'm living here. Like I get to see all these tall buildings, and like, it was super cool, and I loved it. Like I still love it to this day, Like that was a real huge part of me, and seeing all of that, it influenced me a lot. Like for our world, it was like, I saw a lot of graffiti everywhere. Art was everywhere in New York. So that was like what made me also excited being there, like just seeing all different kinds of things, like even just the textures and stuff. I was seeing those things as a kid, the sounds and the colors of the city, and like just the busyness of it. Like I guess I picked up the hustle from being there. Like everyone was just, knew what felt like they knew what they were doing. And it was just that people were very focused. And then you see going on the street, you see people hustling certain different things just to like trying to get by, make money, and do something on themselves. Being there. My parents always knew I wanted to go to art school, so they were just all for it. Like after high school, they felt like I already knew what I was gonna go into. And the only art school, I didn't want to go to a university because I felt like that wasn't art school. It was more like I wanted it more really focused and be in the arts, So my eyes were just set on the Art Institute of Seattle, and I would always just see the commercials. I was like, I'm gonna go there. So like after high school, that's where I'm going. So my parents are just super like go for it, Like they were there with me during orientation, really sat with me like, here's your portfolio. You should like whip out all your stuff, because my parents kept my drawings from when I was like a little kid. So I still have those drawings. They're like, you should put this in your portfolio. Like show them what you got. Like they were really excited for me. But going into art school, honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I just knew that I felt like I had to be in the corporate world again, like with the art. And it's like, in high school, I got into, skateboarding. That was a huge part of my high school life. And I remember seeing graphic designer, and I didn't really know what that was, but I knew what graphic boards were. And I was like, oh, there's art on boards. And I would specifically buy skateboards for the art too, just because like this one looks dope. Like I want to use this one. So I was like, is that kind of what they do? So I would just research it, and I was like, maybe I want to get into this, go to art school for graphic design, because, painting on a canvas to me still wasn't like, that's not gonna set you up for success, like it has to be under something, like where you're under a company and you gotta work the 9-to-5 type deal. So that's kind of when I went for. Coming into it, I had no clue what graphic design was, and I really was just like, learned it from like zero. And I, looking back from my work from the start of school to now, I was like, man, it was so horrible, but I loved it. I loved every moment of being in art school. So I really like getting to draw every day and being around people who are really creative and just feeding off that energy. It was great. And that was like a whole dream come true for me too. Like at that time, my brain was already like, I'm gonna be in an agency, or like this graphic. I fell in love with graphic design. Like those years I was there, like I really fell in love with it, and I was like, this is where I'm meant to be, And I just felt like I just needed to get started right after college. Like I need to make it work in the industry and really learn and gain experience, But I was very excited. Like I was like, I'm ready to take on the world, you know? Let's graduate, let's take on the world. Let's create some stuff. It was tough because, like, again, it was like, am I in the right industry? Like, already going into arts, like, I always tell you, like, it's not gonna make you anything. And it's like, everybody needed experience, right? So it was a struggle for me to find a job or find even an internship or anything like that. So I kind of went into back to my own creative self of like, what can I do from, how can I start something on my own? Like, I know I could do something on my own. Then maybe I'll try and venture out while I'm waiting for a job opportunity. Like, let's start something so I could feed off my, creative juice still. And back in middle school, I used to like make clothes. That was like one of my creative things that I did when I was younger. And I would sell t-shirts and stuff and make, I would airbrush t-shirts, sell them, those things. And I love streetwear. I like expressing myself through clothes. And I was like, I'm just gonna start my own, like I've seen people do it and I've heard stories of this is how they started. Like, I felt like I can do that too. Why not? Let's just do it. I have nothing to lose. I'm still waiting for a job. I got out of college, like, I need to make some money somehow. Let's do that. Let's hustle, So out of college, my supportive parents, again, I told them what I wanted to do. Like, I had this vision of starting something like a company into clothes. And they knew I was doing that. So like when I was younger and then saw my love for it, they're like, we'll invest in the screen printer for you. Then let's see where that goes. So they invested in the screen printer and I was just designing my own clothes really and just learning how to make the screens in the process. I would sit in the garage like doing all that stuff and I tried to start my own clothing brand. And I had people who felt like my friends who knew that this was something I loved to do, so they would support me and it really gave me happiness at that time while I was in this weird space, like not knowing adulthood and trying to figure it out, and just hoping that this one would work out. But yeah, it was just a lot of grind and it was something that I had to really fight through. But yeah, and then I just was trying to search for job opportunities in between those and trying to make it work. While I was doing that stuff, my parents are still kind of like, maybe you should trying to get into that job, like use your diploma, what you've learned in art school, like get into graphic design and try it out and see if you can make it into that world. And so I did, and I was reaching out to many people, trying to, apply to different agencies and things and show my portfolio. But I had reached out to you, and I knew that you worked at University of Washington for the athletic program, and you're very creative, and I've always looked up to your creative like lane and what you've been doing. So I was like, maybe I'll just hit you up and see if there's something. And then you told me that there's an internship opportunity, and I just was like, I'm gonna do it, even if it's not paid or whatever. Like, I'm willing to just put in the time and try to get myself in there. And so yeah, that was the start of that, my whole graphic design career, I guess. Once I got the opportunity to be in there, I was just so excited. Like, this is my foot in the door. Like, I'm gonna try my best to get as high as I can with this. Like, I want that graphic design position in this company. You know what I mean? So starting as an intern, I just really was doing as much as possible. Like, anything you need type of thing, like I will do it. And it was just, I gave my everything to it, and I would see results. Like, from the internship, I got into a paid internship, and then from the paid internship, I got into the part-time position, and I just wanted to keep going. Like, we would be in the office for game days, and game days are always such a big thing. So like, there's a lot of work to be done. I'll be there. I'm there 3 a.m. as much as we can. Like, I just want to get this position and just do my best and like see my work up there. And it was like very fulfilling for me at the time, like just creating something and seeing it up and like being a part of this whole experience. And it was super cool. And then finally landing that position of being the graphic designer, it was like a big sigh of relief. Like, I kind of felt like and I was very proud at that time. So yeah, I was just very, what's the word? Grateful. I was really grateful for just being able to do that for a living, like every day creating. It was crazy time. That's like pretty much like what started everything. I mean, as being a graphic designer, I was there for I think 2.5, almost 3 years, being in the graphic designer position. And every single year is pretty much very repetitive. And at the time, like, I need to be doing something like I always have different ideas all the time. And being in the corporate world, it's like you have to pretty much be under a brand and create for under a brand, and you have to do everything within that, and you can't really stray too far off. For me, it's just like my itch was just like I need to make something else, and I would do stuff on the side just to feed feed my creativity so that I could work better in my 9 to 5. Because if I didn't feel good coming into work and creating, like, it's just not gonna work out. Like everything about being an artist, just having to feel good about what you're creating. And then when things got repetitive, I felt like I kind of started to lose myself in a sense. I felt really lost. And it's like, is this really what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life? Like I started thinking of those things, and it's like, what is the dreams that I had as a kid? Like, is this it? Is this the dream that I had? So I was feeling very lost. And it was one day I went to a homegirl's house, and she's an artist. And like, I haven't drawn like that because everything was very digital for me. Being at UW, like being graphics, everything is just in the computer. I wasn't making things in my hands. And before all of that, like I was used to making things in my hands, like, making paintings, like making t-shirts. It was all hands-on things. And I just felt like I had that urge to do that. And I went to a homie's house, and she had a painting up in a canvas and like graffiti all over her place. She tagged her whole place up. And I was like, man, they really inspired me. Like, maybe I should get back into painting. Like, I haven't touched anything like that in a long time. Everything's been computer, Photoshop, Illustrator, So my girlfriend literally the next day surprised me with a canvas and a can of spray paint and brush it, and was like, she knew how kind of down I was from being in a box, I feel like, creatively, that she's like, just paint whatever it is that is in your head right now and just release it out. And then I did. And when I sat there painting, I was like, man, I wish I could do this every single day. Like, I felt like it was like, I need to be right here. This is like where my soul needs to be. Like this type of zone, like just sitting and like no one telling me like it should look this way, or like what you're like, when you're a graphic designer, there's other thoughts, there's other people's opinions that go into your work because it needs to be a perfect type of thing. When you're painting on a canvas, no one's telling you what to do. It's literally blank, and whatever it is that you see, just do it. If it feels good, if it doesn't look good, it's all like your decisions. And it was like freedom to me. Like I was in a free space, and I was like, man, I need to do this more often. So that's kind of what started everything. I started making more paintings just for myself. I had like ideas of my influences with cartoons and anime and music. I was like doing crossovers, like, can I make Ash look like YG, or like, can I and just doing different crazy things and posting it on social media, And my girlfriend is a really great marketer. She's really good with social media. So she would put my work out there, and people would start seeing it, and was like, can you paint me like this? I'm like, yeah, like, that's super cool. Like, I'd do that for you, like, just for fun, And while I was doing that outside of my 9 to 5, and I started to realize while I was working the 9 to 5, I'm thinking of coming home and like painting this idea that's been stuck in my head since that morning, like I need to get it out. And it just became that. And I just felt like I had to follow my heart and my soul. Like, since I felt like things were so repetitive and I didn't want to be in this box, like, let's try again. Like, let's try to do something you love again. And at first that was, the t-shirts, and now it's like, this is my free space. Like, let's try and see if we can make this work.